Screen. All right, hello, and thank you to those who joined us for the premiere of Building Pieces of Stage Life. It was really grateful to see you watching and to see people engaged by the subject, so really do appreciate it. And now what we're going to do for a little bit of time is just me and Gianpiero are just going to look through some comments and just have a quick discussion about the subject teachings in that. So we actually received a comment in the video, not a question, but just a comment, which was nice. If you do have any questions you'd like to ask us, please do leave your questions in the comments below and we'll try and get to them within the time. So this is what someone said, one of our commenters. They said, a great discussion about the differences about making art or creating entertainment between the processes and the product. We are slowly forgetting that the importance of process over product, personal development over market objectives, in which our discussion our discussion is a discussion that covers so many industries, not just the arts, and we are losing the point of view in life, education, personal and social connections. How do you feel that comment makes you feel?
Well, it's a point. It's one of the points of our engagement as artists and theater makers, or whatever is the field of expression. Actually, there is a dominating ideology, which is the market ideology, and it is conquering every field of the human life. And so, as far as I believe, that art should be always against the majority, always against the conformism. It's up to us as artists to underline what our friend is writing about. Exist life outside the market. It's possible to live outside the market rules, even if at the present time, the leading ideology says the opposite, especially in the Western world, and it's very important for us as artists to scream around that is not true.
I agree. I completely agree with that one. I think there's a lot of people now when it comes to art, and even, as you say, the Western art, Western world of culture and creative arts. As a filmmaker, it's much more difficult to be seen, in which a lot of like blockbusters and a lot of different bigger things that don't have that substance really take the forefront. And I think it's really dangerous in that sense. It's quite toxic in terms of it's big IPs, it's big sequels, it's big franchises that are taking the forefront of the industry, and then someone independent who's got a very compelling story, compelling narrative, compelling arc they want to tell is really not being seen in that sense and not being recognized for their talent.
You know, is anything very, very new. It's a form of slavery. There is a reduced number of people that is managing the power through money, through industry, and there is an enormous amount of people that is not managing this privilege. And more and more, the big firms would be enjoying the power. The less and less they will let the small fishes swimming in the river. And for us as independent artists, as consumers, as just as people, is very, 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 very important to understand that every time that we fall into buying something or into according our life system to one of those big firms who are leading the world at the present moment, we are actually feeding the beast and empowering the beast against ourselves.
And almost
even now that we are live streaming on YouTube, we are feeding the YouTube beast against our independence. We are we are giving them contents for free. We are giving them creation for free.
We've almost
and
become...
they let us play. They let you, me, and the few followers that are following us now playing and giving us the feeling that we are in the big game. We are not. We are not Taylor Swift.
That's a good one. That's a almost quite poignant analogy in terms of that. I did actually have a question looking back on what we produced all them years ago as concept, well, as this project in terms of the responses from your showings of Building Pieces of Stage Life. What's been the key thing that people have taken away from it?
Well, what I would love most of all theater students or young artists to take from it is to perceive, to develop a vision of their work in theater as creators, as artists, as people who should create something new, rather than employees realizing the creation of someone else. This is the thing. This is for me the thing, and I'd love to share it with the people with whom I work, with the students to whom I teach. Actually, the actors is very much alone when he's on stage. Authors very rarely he's with them. Director very rarely he's with them, and it's very, very surprising for me that the people with less power in theater are very often the actors, which is very strange. There are those who go on stage fighting with the audience, but then who makes decisions are authors and directors.
Like the people on the background, in terms of like the people that look at it from the outside point of view, don't really have that kind of power to not authoritize. They are authoritative people within the hierarchy, but they don't really have the power play in terms of what they can do, in terms of the play position, in terms of the composition, in terms of even pushing themselves into balance or disbalance.
Yeah, it's a culture. As actors, we have our own responsibilities. It's not only question of who is leading and who is serving. Is that very often we do perceive our job as a second-rate job, as a job that should be done according with the request of someone else, and not according with what we do believe it's necessary to express. And so we can't complain. We should fight. That's what we should do. We should recognize our rights and our duty as theater makers, and we should obtain, not complain. That's what I believe. It's a very narrow. It's a very narrow pattern to follow. It's not easy. It's very hard. But we should do what we do believe right to do.
No, that's completely fair enough. That's completely fair enough. In terms of what you've done since we did this project, what have you done in the meantime?
Well, actually, the project that we shared in this short documentary is succeeding a lot in Italy. So it's touring in many major cities of the country, and is always a new production. Because the landscape of the show is made by a period of research on that urban reality, on the urban reality that is hosting us. So we do study the sex slavery, the poverty, the condition of the elders, and we do change a little bit the shows in each different town, and even the locations are different. So the project is very much demanding, and it's not something that we did, and so we simply tour. in each reality, we do have an exchange with the reality that is hosting us. And we do love interfere with their ordinary lives. And so when we believe in this project as a change maker project. So we change the ordinary routine of the hospice for the others, or of the shelters for the refugees or whatever. We do enter these places. We do change our shows, but we also change their ordinary lives for the few days that we stay with them. So this is very, very much engaging, and is feeding the spirit of the company, but is also taking the most of our resource and energies. Then we have done two productions more. One is about an Italian member of parliament who died 100 years ago, killed by the raising leader of the country at that moment, who was Mussolini.
Mm-hmm.
So the country is celebrating the life of this member of parliament, whose name was Giacomo Matteotti. And once again, we are doing not only a show, we are doing a project. So very often we do play first of all, we performed the show the first time in the Italian parliament, in one of the rooms of the parliament, and we do the same. We do tour the show into city halls,
mm-hmm.
into local parliaments. I mean, in those places where the democracy should be alive and should be practiced. And so we try to engage the audience, because we do play several of these member of parliament most famous speeches. So we try to recreate the condition, and it has been very, very much engaging. In the night of his death, we performed it on the roof of one of the main buildings of Piazza Navona in Rome,
Mm-hmm.
projecting performance on the facade of the building. We called this project Matteotti in the Sky, a little bit like the Pink Floyd very famous song.
Mm.
And we are doing another very engaging project. The title is Antigone's Ceremony with Songs. We do perform the show into cemetery and into a room of sorrows, where the show is about those people who couldn't celebrate their funeral because of the lockdown.
Mm.
So it's like if we do a ceremony for them.
Nice. That sounds really good in terms of the projects, and able to adapt the City of Myth projects as well, in terms of where they were initially when we recorded this, and then how they've changed, how they've developed, and how they've really taken on the forefront as well in terms of the original concepts that you and your team worked with, and then really bring them to life in a new dynamic way for a new different audience. Then it helps keep it fresh, keep it relevant, and also helps the actors in terms of making the show feel more alive for them.
Well, I mean, you're saying something very much important. Show should be show.
Mm-hmm.
Show should be a project that is interfering with the creative life of the artists who are going on stage. So a show could tour only until when it is still engaging the artistic life of the actors who are going on stage. So it's very much important to not finish the work, do not end the work into the terms of making a well-shaped product. You should for sure keep some rule, keep some structure, keep some form, some that should be stable, but the inner life of the show should be always fulfilled by the inspiration of the actors who are going on stage. So it's very much important to leave also session of the show that might be improvised, might be changed, might be developed. It's very much important to meet the audience with a show that is not yet ended, with a show that is still in the creative process.
No, I completely get that. I completely.
That of course makes producer going crazy. If you try to explain this to one of the main theaters artistic director or to one big producer, they believe you are crazy. So never tell them.
So if there's any producers watching right now,
a very big teaching for the young actors, a young director, sells to producer something different. Never tell them what you're going to do. Not completely, at least.
Yeah, if there's any producers watching this is fantastic advice and fantastic insight in terms of that. We've just had another comment as well, in which someone's commented, this has a view of making arts getting more or less difficult nowadays in a world that seems to be going into a direction more dictated towards politically correct content and censorship and avoiding real discussions and real insights. Would you like to care to comment on that?
Oh, it's very simple. It's not art. What we are talking about is not art. If it is respecting the politically correctness, if it is respecting the mainstream rules, if it is done only for getting money, it's not art, it's industry. I have big respect for it, but it's not the same field of work. The art field of work is research. The art field of work should be something scratching, something making people disturbed, uncomfortable, like the research is doing in every field. If you go into a chemical industry, the research field is not yet something ready for the public. The research field is producing uncomfortable stuff, which are provoking changes in the industry, which are provoking changes in the ordinary life of people. Then, in a while, the industry absorbs and shapes the thing in a way that it can be sold. But if it's a little bit of paradox, but if it can be sold, it's not art anymore. It keeps being art up until the moment when it can be sold. Unless it is a very, how can I say, artisan, crafty, there are very, very, very important chefs, very, very important tailors who can sell their work, very, very important architect who can sell their work, but because below their signature, there is always a new creation. You get what I mean? So when I say there are a few signatures in the art field who are selling their creation, which is always something new. So it's people who is living in the research field, it's people who is able to create new things, which are very, very few around the world, very, very few around the world. And their price is extremely high. And you have several directors around, several architects, several tailors, several chefs. When the things start to be repeatable, when things start to be repeatable with a stamp, is already industry.
So it's all about being dynamic and keeping
which is sorry, Alex, which is not bad at all. Which is not bad at all. It's just which is very, very important, I can say, because from the industry is what we do, what we should feed. We should produce new ideas, new creations that might be metabolized and transformed into products in a while by the industry. So we, as artists, we do need the industry, and the industry do needs us. But it's not so direct. It's not that you do produce directly for the industry. You do produce for creating something new, and you do hope that the industry will recognize it as something useful and sellable.
So would you say it's almost like throwing wool at like mud at the wall, seeing what sticks?
Say again, sorry. Say again.
Would you say it's almost like throwing mud against a wall, and then the industry picks out what sticks to that wall?
Yeah, it's a good picture. It's a good picture that you are sharing with us, and they do pick very few things from what we throw on the wall, and it's their job. In this case, the industry is very, very useful. The industry chooses. The industry knows the market, and so they do select by the art field things that might be sold. Of course, industry is very often conservative, very, very often conservative, and confirmative, the both. So for us, it's it's angel and devil at the same time. It's good and bad. It's something that we need and that we need to destroy at the same time.
I was gonna say it is very much the both good and bad yin and yang kind of thing. The almost one end of the spectrum to the other is the industry in that. Someone else has just commented saying, "If it can be bought, it's not art," which I feel like that's a quote from, I can't remember who said that quote, but it's such a key quote that it sounds very distinctive. Whilst I find out if someone's actually quoted that, what's your thoughts on that comment?
It might be. It happened in the case of Diego Armando Maradona, Mozart. Very, 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 very rarely it's both. Michael Jackson, Marina Abramovic. It might happen, but it's so rare, and very often it doesn't belong to. It doesn't strictly belong to the human being who does it. It's something that has to do with gods. I'm not sure it's clear what I want to say, but the piece of genius which destroy that is able to destroy the time, destroy the conservative approach of the industry, is something that is stronger than the human will. It's something that arises suddenly into a field and gives to that field a new light. For those who follow me, everybody knows that I love make football examples when I do teach. Maradona created a new form of football. The football that he played was unknown before he played. It doesn't happen so often. It doesn't happen so often. And you know, if you have heard Maradona talking about his work, he didn't know exactly what he was doing. He didn't know exactly what he was doing. He was just a spirit inhabiting that man. It was something very strange, like Federer playing tennis. It's not, it happens. Very rarely it happens, and of course everybody loves and everybody recognizes it when it happens. It's clear. It's like a new light turning on suddenly. Everybody recognizes that light.
No, it's it's a good point about those that are stand out within their field, within their craft, and those that are influential and aspirational towards their talent. I tried to search on the internet if that was actually a quote from someone. I couldn't find it at the moment, but I'll see if I can do some research into that. We are now coming to the end of this Q&A session, so thank you very much, Gianpiero, for being here with us for this. Thank you to those who have commented, who have given their thoughts and opinions. And I just want to end on one last question, which is sort of similar to what I said in terms of the actual documentary. What advice would you actually give, instead of it being to an actor, to a creative working into the industry now, and how to almost traverse into this industry?
Well, it's something that is not related only to our job. The approach to the job is completely changed in the recent years. It should be clear for all of us that to work was ordinarily meant as something that the human being does in order to change something. Now it's the other way around. The work is changing us. So we should know it. And we should accept that it's a long life journey, learning journey, and is spreading around many, many different skills and knowledge that you should have. So it's a very difficult job, that requires a very, very strong commitment, extremely strong commitment. Should be clear the day you start this job that the studying period never ends. It's something that will be constantly in your life. You should constantly develop your knowledge referred to this work, and you should know it. When you do start, you should know that it never ends, that you will be studying the rest of your life. So if you are curious enough, you can engage yourself in theater. If you are not curious enough, do something easier.
I think on that note, that is a good insight into ending this discussion. So just want to say thank you all to those who've supported this project, both crew, past crew, and also Gianpiero, to yourself, for allowing us to build this to life and bring this to life as well. So thank you so much for this.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
And
bye-bye.
Yes, thank you very much for watching, and we'll hopefully see you soon. Thank you very much for your time. Take care. All right, and that is